Okay, this is going to be a brief video on this Centennial model Singer 201 sewing machine. I just make these videos to show people what I do when I go through the machine, because this machine will be for sale on CRAIGSLIST shortly. And basically what I do is I take most of the parts off. I take off this thread tensioner, I take this plate off, I take off the upper tension assembly. Hopefully I don't move the sewing machine out of the shot, because I can't see what I'm shooting when I do this. I take off the needle plate, this slide plate. I remove the bobbin case in here and the retaining clip. I remove this face plate. I remove the needle holder, the foot, the thread cutter. That way I can get all these pieces down and clean all of this area. I clean out in here. I remove the foot pressure adjuster here and remove the spring. There's a little washer. You want to be careful of that so you don't lose that. Oh, I should also point out, when you take this assembly off, there's a pin that comes out of this stem mounted in here. Don't lose that pin. Take this cover plate off back here. I take this, on this particular model, I take this plate off and this spool holder pin. And then the most important thing that I'm doing is I take the entire motor, I take off the hand wheel, get that out, take this motor off, and the cover, I completely take this motor apart. Right down to every last piece comes off. And then what I do is I blow all the grease out of these pots. There's retaining clips, a spring, a wick, which is a piece of cotton basically, cylindrical shaped cotton, that applies grease to this shaft as it spins. That's how it's lubricating this shaft. There is no bearing. There's a brass insert in here, and brass is known to retain oil. So the steel is spinning in there against this brass that retains oil. The wicks are pushing grease up against this shaft while everything is spinning away. And yeah, so I take this completely apart, rebuild everything, clean it all out, new wires from the field coil down to the connection box here. And I try to do it the old school way, where they actually take the wire, I solder it right to the field coil, and then I do put the shrink wrap around the wire to protect it. I have found grommets. There's a rubber grommet where the wire comes out of this housing to go down to the junction box. I put in a new one of those, and I turn the armature before I put it back together. The brushes are removed, springs, brushes are cleaned. I'll put in new brushes if I have to, but generally if there's 70 to 75% of the brush left, it's still going to run for a long time. You got to remember, this machine came out in 1950, that's 70 years ago, and you're looking at the brushes they put in these motors were so heavy duty that they might have 20% wear on them unless somebody really was using this thing day in and day out every day. So that's kind of an overview of what I do when I go through the machine. The machine should run for another 60 years, hopefully, after I've done all this. Oh yeah, also on the bottom side, let me do this carefully here. I take off these covers. I actually take off this third piece. You wouldn't have to, but it's easier to get at these. Got my pointing device, I'm not using it. I take off these covers here so I can get at these gears. This is a gear driven machine here on the bottom. Clean off those gears really well, and basically I'm mixing just a small amount of grease with the sewing machine oil, just so it gets a light coating on those gears. I don't want to put on heavy grease and slow the machine down and cause additional wear on the motor. Some people are just putting straight oil on there. That's fine too. But I just mix a tiny bit of lithium grease with the sewing machine oil just so I can see it's like tacky on there. Doesn't fly off right away like the oil would. And then there's all these spots down here you should oil also. There you've got where when the machine runs, there's pivot points here that you should be oiling on a regular basis. Down here, two back here. Okay, so that's pretty much everything I do when I go through these machines. I don't just, you know, when you see this on Craigslist, it's not going to be a machine that came out of somebody's closet and, you know, they plugged it in, or they went like this with the hand wheel and said it works. I mean, I've totally gone through this machine. You're looking at about, I've done so many of these, I can do these in about, if there's no major, if I don't run into anything out of the ordinary, I'm just cleaning, rebuilding this motor, taking all this apart, cleaning it up, putting it back together, about 10 to 12 hours and I'm done. The main thing, the thing that's the most time consuming and the least amount of fun is taking this motor apart, because you're going to have carbon residue in this pot. You're gonna, if you don't wear rubber gloves, you're gonna get really dirty. You've got all this old greasing you got to get out of here, and you know you want to do the electrical. You want to put a paper towel in here, do the greasy part first, get that done, and then when you do your electrical work, you want to take electrical contact cleaner and blow all these pieces off and get all that old carbon out of there. That way you're not contaminating the electrical end of the motor with grease. So that's the way I go about it. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching.